I wanted to make a video about these new consoles for a while now, but I'm a lazy fuck, so I'm finally getting around to it. I don't need to be a rocket scientist to explain why the Series S and PS5 digital is a little bit laughable when it comes to the storage, because at this point, everybody knows about the storage issue on consoles, even with the higher end versions that do pack the full terabyte. As we got closer to the end of the 8th generation's life cycle, games became significantly larger than they were in the beginning, which is clearly apparent when you look at them. Everyone's aware of the size Modern Warfare is and a monster of an update it receives like constantly, and I promise you it's only going to be worse this generation too. Developers are coming out and saying that they're working on making file sizes smaller, but only a few games have proved this claim, with only a select few coming in lower than about 70 gigabytes. And recently we were informed of what the file size for Black Ops Cold War is going to be, coming in at around 190 gigabytes. And given that about only 364 of the 512 gigabytes is going to be available to the user on the Series S, and the PS5 digital technically having an upper hand with an extra 100 gigs or so, this literally means you can fit just about one or two more games onto your hard drive unless you're downloading old 360/PS4 3 or 2 games. So, unless you're a casual player that only has the new Madden and COD on your Xbox, this is practically unusable and is throwing up a red flag immediately. Let's say you want to buy an external SSD for your Series S, unless you cheap out and use an old standard hard drive, Microsoft is charging roughly $220 before tax to do this, which defeats the entire point of the Series S to me, making it the exact same price as the Series X. So by this point, you would basically be better off getting the X. It already has the 1 terabyte out of the box, a disk drive, more power, so on and so forth. Granted, you will have more storage on your Series S than you would on your X by going this route, because just like the S, the Series X is going to need dedicated storage for the operating system, giving you about double of what the S offers. How many more times do I need to say these long-ass names? So with all of that in mind, it really comes down to personal preference and whatever you plan on buying and playing. Personally, I would just buy the Series X or PS5 digital and call it a day, but a casual player may not want to because, again, they only play a few games anyways, so they don't need the best possible experience because they just don't care. For them, if they could play the new Madden, it's a good product, which is fair. Now, granted, this is an issue for every platform. Hell, not even just consoles, not even just PCs, but even fucking cell phones, dude. We haven't gotten far enough yet to bring the price of these new storage configurations down, so it's a problem for a huge user base because not everybody has the extra $200 to go out and fix the issue, especially with Christmas coming up. And on top of all of that, COVID has hurt so many people's finances that they just have more important shit to pay. I mean, just picture this one, alright? You wait all year with anticipation for the new console to release. You're like 14, 15, whatever, and it's Christmas morning. You unwrap your Series S or PS5, whatever, only to find out that you can only play about 3 of your games at a time, and not only this, but you're going to spend all day, and more than likely longer than that, waiting for these 3 games to install because, yet again, the file sizes are fucking colossal. You're literally going to be stuck with a console that can't even play anything until it finishes installing the games you just received. File sizes for next gen are a pretty big issue, and it's especially annoying when it's entirely possible for that company to compact the size to be much lower than it is. I don't know, I'm probably digging way too deep into this, but it's been bugging me for such a long time now. I'm lucky to have a full 2 terabytes on my PC to store games. I do reserve about 500 gigabytes of that for YouTube footage, but the rest is more or less dedicated to video games. And it isn't just Microsoft and Sony. Part of the blame does lie on game developers because, like I said, they could crunch the file size down, and there is ways and methods to do this. Title's already done it already. The Master Chief Collection gives you a lot of control on what parts of the game you even want installed or not, which lets you make the file size around 50 or 90 gigabytes depending on your preference. And I have no idea why games don't do this more often. It would help a ton because, like Modern Warfare for instance, would be a much smaller game if it can remove Warzone and campaign, only having the multiplayer. Now, Infinity Ward did say that we'll let players do this recently, but the game's already been replaced with Cold War, so people are uninstalling it anyways. I hope this won't be a problem for a whole lot longer. I really don't want to keep forking out hundreds of dollars to be able to install games I've already purchased. But that's enough shit talking, because literally everything else about the new console seems to be super exciting, and I'd even argue the new SSDs being in these consoles make the lack of storage almost okay. I mean, the fact that these are SSDs in the first place is why they're making compromises here, because these things are not cheap. It's nice to see consoles finally get features that debatably should have had on the Xbox One X and PS4 Pro. Hell, even the original launch in 2013. But I'm no console fanboy. The PS5 is about to receive an ass whooping too, because why? Why is there no 1440p support for it? Sony actually came out and told people they will not be adding support for this, and people were just confused more than anything. Because if your console can reach 8K resolutions, it is able to support 1440p, but you choose to deny the feature? Sony and your anti-consumerism, I swear. I promise you that more people on this planet either have or can get a 1440p monitor way easier than an 8K TV. You know why? Go ahead and Google the price of 8K TVs real quick. Go ahead, go take a look, I'll wait. Exactly! Almost nobody, at least not the average consumer, hell, not even streamers or avid players will consider them because of the price. It's just not worth it. To an extent, 4K really isn't worth it either. 1440p is widely more used, and people will tell you that it is realistically the next standard. 4K still has a few more years until it's considered this. Now, I'm not saying 4K TVs haven't become standard and haven't come down in price. They have, but the amount of technology they can take advantage of it is so small, you're probably never going to truly utilize it. Because even though consoles claim to reach 4K resolutions, realistically they're upscaling from a lower resolution. There are only a handful of games that actually have native 4K support on consoles. It makes me laugh that Sony's trying to push the agenda that 8K is here and we can use it as a standard, Microsoft too, when this technology is probably still a decade away from being a standard. This all means that if your monitor is a 1440p monitor, you're just going to get a 1080p resolution upscaled to reach 1440p. But if you buy a 4K or, God help you, an 8K monitor, you're all set and ready to go, I guess? Now, this wouldn't be an issue, but this is a feature that is usually used in the more dedicated part of the fan base. People that stream, people that incorporate their consoles into their PC setup, and sure, this is technically the minority, but I'm willing to bet about 30% of the user base will be seeking this type of setup. I know I'm going to be. Thanks, Dick. You gotta love living in a country. People never know where they're at. I'm also willing to bet that Sony's gonna patch this in at some point because of the negativity surrounding it. When is this gonna happen? Hell, who knows, but it'll probably happen. And between you and me, I'd much rather have 1440p 120 FPS over 4K at 30, because let's be honest, I doubt these consoles can even push that consistently. I have doubts they're even gonna keep 120 FPS at all. Targeting it is a totally different story than locking it in. But I don't control your wallet. I'm not gonna tell you how to spend your money, but I'm sure as hell am gonna tell you what I think. Honestly, I don't even see a reason to upgrade from your current console at all for at least another year. Unless you could snag one on sale, or if you really care about things looking a little bit nicer and some faster load times, the experience is going to be pretty similar, especially on the Xbox, since they went with the if it ain't broke, don't fix it method. This is completely fine, by the way. I'm okay with having the same UI, controller, etc. But overall, you'll still get the new games on your old hardware for at least another year or so. As far as I can tell, you can still play with your friends between consoles too. There's not that many new features to go out and buy these things on day one. But honestly, the best bang for your buck would technically be the Xbox Series S, in my opinion, and I can make that conclusion just from Game Pass alone. That service is going to be a huge selling point for this entire generation, especially with Microsoft acquiring Bethesda and having all of their new games coming to the Game Pass day one, alongside all the first-party titles. Hell, even Halo Infinite's coming. Game Pass Ultimate also gives you games on your PC and perks every month. Whether those perks are good or not depends on you, but I know I've gotten 6 months of Spotify for free out of it, alongside 3 months of Discord Nitro and DLC for games as well. But other than the Game Pass, the Series S is cheaper than a budget version of the PS5, keeps the same power as the Series X with only 2 compromises being 1440p capped and a lower storage capacity. But if these things doesn't bother you, then you got a winning console in your hands. And I am aware Sony offers a similar service with PS Now, but honestly, I don't think it's quite there yet in comparison, but it is working on it, I'll give them that. Now, if you only care about exclusives, then that's entirely up to you. You form your own opinion on that, but for the love of fucking God, don't judge somebody for liking Xbox exclusives over PlayStation or vice versa. At the end of the day, it's just video games. You should enjoy whatever you want. At the end of the day, it's all about having fun. Don't listen to people on Twitter. Don't let them control you. Buy what you want to buy. I'm not even going to try and control you either. But anyways, guys, thank you for sticking around. It does mean a lot to me, and consider subscribing if you want me to stop taking 1-month breaks. So unless you just subscribed, I'm going to see you guys in another month. Peace.